Okay, so what I'm going to do in this demonstration is I'm going to show you exactly how the code sniffer operates. But before we get into that in the actual demo, I'm going to go over a quick concept from GitHub. In a GitHub organization, a user typically pulls down code for a repository that they want to make changes to, creates a new local branch on their system, makes changes to that local branch, and then finally pushes all the changes to the remote repository. So that's what I've gone ahead and done with this RFE2 branch. You'll also notice that we have a new pull request directly from the RFE2 branch. So what I'm doing here is I'm asking to merge the changes that I made on the RFE2 branch with the master branch. And then you can see if we look in the files of the pull request, these are all the changes that I made with it. So what the Code Sniffer application is going to actually do, once it detects one of these pull requests, is it's going to automatically pull down all the files associated with the pull request into a temporary directory on the file system. And then it's going to use Groovy scripts that we create or that the user will create to parse over each of the files and detect any violations of code smells that would be associated with the Groovy scripts. So eventually we're going to have this process automated so that a pull request to a repository is going to kick off a webhook using the GitHub REST API. And then the webhook is going to execute the Code Sniffer application. But just for this demonstration, I'm going to manually execute the code on the repository that I showed you, the sample repo. So when the application executes, it's actually authenticating with GitHub using basic authorization credentials. The user that you set up must be a collaborator or an owner of the repository. So I've created this sniff test user and hard-coded the credentials into the application. Later down the line, the user will be able to configure their own credentials on the application's web interface. So I'm going to execute the jar file using this Groovy file as an argument, as well as the owner of the repository, which is me, and then the repository name. So this specific file that I'm running here, this Groovy file, detects when a method has too many arguments. In this case, we have a hard-coded value of 3. So anything above 3 is going to be considered too many arguments for a method. So once I execute it, it detects the latest pull request using the GitHub REST API and pulls down each of the files into the file system's temporary directory. They'll be deleted afterwards to clear space after the process is finished. And you can see all the temporary files that are being listed here are being pulled down to the temporary directory on the file system and then examined. As the files are inspected, they're parsed using the Groovy file that I specified. And you can see here the only violation of the having too many arguments is found in line 8 of the testchild.java file. And then eventually we'll have it so that when the application is complete, it'll automatically post a comment at this line number in the pull request, directly on the pull request in GitHub. And then the user can essentially review those comments and make changes as they see fit. So I hope this has helped you a little bit to see the application in action. Also note that there's still plenty of work to be done, and this is still essentially a bare bones implementation